we're now living inside of the world of these illusory beliefs that we pick up when we're children, which therefore is born in our innocence. So it's not your fault. And wherever we are, whatever pinnacle of time, is exactly where you're meant to be and how you're meant to think to discover what it is you're going to discover.
Hey, everybody, like what you see, Luxe Life with Candice Bar, or any of the Luxe Media Studios shows, make sure you subscribe and click the like below. Hey, everybody, welcome to Luxe Life. I'm your host, Candice Bar, and we are so excited for today. I know we say that all the time. We've been blessed enough to have a lot of really cool entrepreneurs, celebrities, up-and-coming entrepreneurs, but I am really excited to have this lady on with us today. So I'd love to introduce Miss Angela Ferrari, Luxe Life.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
How's it going?
Really well. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, we're so excited to have you. You and I met, I think, a few weeks ago
Yes.
through a mutual friend. And it was just such a lovely connection, lovely conversation. I knew I was clearly talking to someone different than who you normally would meet. And I love those conversations and I love those connections.
Yes, I do too. And I feel like we're just like magnets for each other. It's just somehow it just you draw in the people that kind of have that deeper level of conversation. You recognize it when you see it.
Totally. I agree. So can you please let everyone know who you are and what you do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard to nutshell that honestly, especially coming from someone who doesn't like to feel boxed into anything. But for the sake of the context, I will tell you I'm a singer, a performer, and so in putting that also into context, I like to put on these big productions that
Mhm.
have the frequency of the music because as we know, we can put frequency inside of song because a song in and of itself is a frequency and carry intentions. So I can put a whole production together that essentially is designed to awaken somebody's heart no matter where you are in life. You can be deep, you can be kind of not deep, you can be spiritual or not. It We all share that same source of love. And when we feel it, sometimes it's like a child feeling something. We don't necessarily even know how to logically put it into words, but that's the intention behind these productions and the music. So it's a little bit more than just like I sing songs.
Yeah.
I have a whole purpose around what that looks like and what that is. So that's the singing component. And also inside of the productions, I have little messages. So I speak these messages. And so it's more than just a song. So I will sometimes do an original song or a cover song, but I'll speak a message before. And so then when the song lands, it has a depth to it. And so
Mhm.
from those messages, I also have these, we'll say teachings, but really, I'm a reminder. I'm a
I love
reminder
that.
of
Yeah.
who you really are. And so
Mhm.
from those teachings, I have workshops and retreats and
Mhm.
this type of stuff. And I put music in it, right? There's always that component because sometimes
Yeah.
we just need to be quiet and not think and just feel and
Yeah.
let the miracle happen to us.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's the powerful message of today. And I love that we're having this conversation today on the eclipse.
That's true. Somebody just messaged me that it was the eclipse today because I have a class I'm teaching tonight, and they're like, "Our class is on the eclipse," so that's
Yeah.
kind of cool. Yeah, I
I
didn't
was like,
even.
it's very interesting that we're having this interview today at that time with this person.
Yeah, yeah, I love how that works.
I want to ask you, how did you get into all of this? Where did all this even start?
Hmm. By chance, I suppose. I'll tell you this. When I was a little girl, I was probably all of maybe 6 years old, and
Mm.
I remember looking out the window, um, and I knew that I wanted to at the time, the word that I had associated was teach. But remember, I don't experiencing myself that today. Like teach, it's more of, like I said, a reminder. But I had this prayer out of the window, and I remember saying, "Please don't let me forget. Like,
Mm,
please don't." And I circle back to that moment in time often, because it was like that prayer was answered. Like, please don't let me forget, because if
mm.
I forget, then I can't remind.
Right.
I
Can't
be
have other
that.
people remind themselves.
Yes,
Mm,
and that really comes down to what it is for all of us, but I had some connection then, um, and so it really began as a child. I mean, I would say that I was a little different. I remember seeing things a little with a little more complexity,
mm,
like the layers underneath things. And so it was essentially inevitable that I landed here. But the journey to that was through a lot of contrast, a lot of rebellion. Because I feel that we can all relate that that's where we learn the most. I mean, the best books or the best speeches or philosophers, they discover these through what love is not,
mm,
what love is not. And that's how we're so clear of what it
mm,
is.
mm.
So I kind of answer that in a lofty way, but that's the depth of how I got
Yeah.
here.
No, I got it.
Uh-huh.
And so, I want to kind of talk about, we will go to your singing for sure
Yeah.
because you're amazing. It really is. But I want to talk about the clients that you typically deal with,
Mhm.
and what that looks like in that process with them.
So there's the one-on-ones, which is a little bit more rare because it's more extensive, and you have to it has to be a match. So there's an interview to that. And what does it look like? It's so interesting because I don't know that it looks like one specific thing, but there's something in me that
Mm,
can pinpoint when somebody's ready.
mm.
And what is ready? Well, I'll answer it with a question. First, let me ask you this. Do you know what the number one fear of mankind is?
Either, well, there, I have three answers to that. Is it
Okay.
the top two that most people know, or the one that I'm thinking of is fear of not being loved?
Yeah, I feel like that certainly has something to do with it for sure. That's the root, but it's the fear of freedom.
Mm,
Yeah, if you think about
mm.
it. I mean, some people build cages of golden bars,
Everyone does that.
but the fear of freedom
Yeah.
is that I have to abandon who I think I am
Mm.
so
Yeah,
that
freedom,
something
having freedom does scare a lot of people.
I have to come completely undone of who I think I am so that something can be born through me.
Yeah.
And essentially that doesn't get dictated by the illusion of my control.
Yeah.
And that's where there's a process that I have that um, reveals this attachment
Mm,
to who you think you are that's really denying the freedom that you think that you want. But some people
mhm.
start to touch it and they go, "Oh, I changed my mind. I changed my mind. I want the conformity. I'd rather do
Yes.
naivety is bliss." That was such an
Yes.
epic scene, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's
Very.
somebody who I can feel.
Mm,
There's just a blueprint there that's one of our, we all have our special gifts.
mhm,
I can see into that blueprint of the soul, and I can feel when somebody's aligned. I can
mm,
feel when somebody thinks that they're aligned, and also there just might be some other things first
mm,
before
mm.
this.
Yeah, and clearly you can't share the person, and that's fine, but can you give us an example or two, or some clients that you've worked with that they were maybe one way when you started with them and they were completely different by the time the process was over?
Oh my god, I have the best story for that.
Okay.
It's going to be a little long-winded, but it'll be entertaining. So
Good.
anyway, I live in a bit of a bougie apartment complex, and the word kind of got around, I think, of what I do, but it's not just one note. It can be anything because we all have heart's desires. So whatever that is for you. And this guy comes up to me and he was so sweet, and he said, "Do you help guys, like, get girls too?" And I said, "Well, it's whatever your desire is, your heart's desire. So absolutely." And so we have our meeting, and I see a pretty big destiny for this person, right? And anyway, he's kind of caught up in, and I'll just say the Scottsdale scene. What is that? Going out a lot. The people he was admiring, it was kind of like, I just want to be on a yacht and spray champagne on girls in their swimsuits. Like that was
Mhm.
kind of his idea of success because he was a little lost. And
Mm.
so we began this journey, and he was about ready to retire, young guy, but just built some massive success and really was going to move to Europe and retire there. And this was his goal, right? Women all around and things. So we began the process, which is essentially what is alignment to his higher self, his higher soul. That sometimes we're not fully conscious of that, right?
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening as we're moving in this frequency, now I don't want this to cause fear because this isn't always the norm, but it will shake things up. So out of nowhere, he gets, mind you, have brokers in place to sell his business and all this stuff. It's happening. He gets an email because most of his work is done on Google and stuff. The Google out of nowhere says, read the fine print, and sends a book like this and says there's something in here that's you're not doing right and we're shutting down everything. It's like that. Shuts it all down. And so we're in the work. So at least we can focus on, like, listen, sometimes when
Mm.
you ask for things, it has to move. Your prayers are being answered in like the biggest way. I say prayer, but whatever it is, your intentions are being answered in the
Yeah.
biggest way. And we have to just hold on, just hold on, let things move around a little bit, and
Mm.
we'll stay in the work. You're safe. You're not going to die. You're still clearly, no money's out of your bank account. You're good, so just breathe. And so we go through this process. And so meanwhile, he's doing this sort of spiritual work and he's having this awakening.
Mm.
And he says, I want to keep going through this process. I said, okay, but please know that, it's likely going to adjust what you're even thinking that you want.
Yeah.
So he does end up getting this girlfriend, and the guy's looking great, by the way. He's very attractive at this point. His essence is starting to illuminate. The inside is starting to show on his outside. He goes away to Europe and he kind of puts all this stuff down for a second, and he just kind of goes in the spiritual journey with his girlfriend, and he's in a meditation.
Mm.
And I had kind of, we work in meditation because, again, we have to have stillness of the mind. So he goes in this meditation, and in this particular meditation, it was to be present to, if no attachments, like nothing, let your car go, let your girlfriend go, let your everything that you think you want in life, let it all just go, and see what's
Mm.
left, right?
Mm.
See what's left.
Mm.
So he
Mm.
goes into this deep meditation, and it's profound for him, right? He really, something happens internally, and he felt free for the first time. Like,
Mm.
I'm not, I need nothing. I need nothing outside of myself.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he comes to, and he opens, and when he gets to his email, Google reinstated all of his accounts, and it all came back. And now this guy has adjusted. He has since sold, and he has adjusted everything. He actually lives in Sedona,
Yeah.
and does kirtans. It's like a complete different human being. So that would, I would say, is one of the more, like,
Wow.
no connection to the person before that the person is now. But the thing is, he didn't know he wanted it, but it's the most beautiful life he never could have imagined for himself.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
What was it? I usually say it's, um, everything you want, more than you could possibly even consider.
Yes. Yes.
Amazing. I love this. How long was that work with him? Like how?
2 years.
Wow.
Happened in 2 years, fast. And the first year, a lot of that went down. And then the second year, it was like reharmonizing this rebirth,
Mm.
this something that's being born through you now, and like discovering direction of that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Have you ever worked with someone, and as I've noticed in people when they're working with different people or doing different things, everyone's results are their own results. Have you ever worked with someone, and as they're transitioning and as they're kind of transforming, you're seeing it, they get scared and they revert back to who they knew, and then you kind of have to give them that push to go over that edge and move forward with that?
That's an inevitable.
Mm.
I
Mm,
would say this is why freedom is the number one fear of mankind, and this is why the
mm,
process is designed exactly what it is, because we all have that fear and attachment within us. And
mm,
so it's designed to bring it forward. If
mm,
that doesn't happen, there's typically something wrong with the process, meaning
yeah,
it's not deep enough.
mm,
It has to happen that, but the beautiful thing about what you pointed to is the process is also designed for you to feel safe inside
mm,
of that thing. Because mostly what causes us to go back is that
mm,
we don't feel safe in that part, in what I call the great void. We don't feel
mm,
safe there. But once we do, there's a merging of trust and
yeah,
something bigger than you.
mm,
Something bigger than you. We forget we're one big miracle. We forget. I think it was Dr. Wayne Dyer who said, 0 to 9 months, you're in the womb and you're just like, this miracle is just happening to you. It's like you're being done to. You don't have to do shit. It's just
yeah,
happening. And then you're born and they go, Candace, never mind about that. Never mind about that. Let me tell you who you need to be. Let me tell you what you
right.
need to do. Let me tell you who you need to impress. Let me
This is
tell
what
you
you need to
what,
do.
yeah, what you need to live up to. Let me tell you what religion you're going to be and the rules you got to follow. And we forget we're just being done to all the time, but
Yeah,
we have to travel in that great void of all this that we've wired up for ourselves, who we think we are, which just isn't true.
yeah.
What's on the other side of that void is magic.
So much magic. Would you describe that as having a false sense of reality or false sense of self or false sense of confidence, or just wrong programming?
Mm. I would describe it as really probably all of that in just a mask. We don't know we're wearing a mask.
Mm,
We don't realize it. And it's scary,
mm,
the thought that what you've built up and made so much meaning around is really pointless.
yeah,
The thought of
completely.
all of that, right? Because we have these stories and we're so attached to them. Hi, my name is Candace. I do like this. I don't like this. This causes me fear. This it really makes me sore. I don't like this kind of person. These are all of that we've created over time. There's so much juice there.
Yeah.
So we don't realize that it's a mask. You see
So
it all.
that could be the reason why as people get older, they typically don't change or transition because they built up this thing for so long that not being that and not having that or walking in that comfortable space or what they feel is comfortable completely unravels, and they may feel like they don't have the time to know who that real to walk into that new space.
Yeah. Yeah. So the world can get, and sure you've seen, smaller and smaller and smaller, instead of we're expansive beings, instead
Oh
of
yeah.
blowing the doors open all the way up
Yeah.
until our final breath. It's like we
Yeah.
blow the doors open. So it could go either way as we expand in time,
Mm,
because if it's never too late though. The void, the great void, is exactly the same, and it doesn't depend on age. We
yeah.
think there's an illusory thought that because we've been stuck in this program for so long, it's harder, but that's not really the case at all.
It's never hard. It's really it's a light switch decision. Really, you can decide whenever
Exactly.
you like.
It's like, I don't know if you've ever been like bungee jumping or skydiving, and I'm deathly afraid of heights, and I've done both. And it's like you just kind of plunge to your death. It's like it's seemingly to the mind. There
Yes.
is no, it's not different for anyone, especially if somebody has that kind of fear about it.
Yeah.
You just jump, you just go, you just jump, and then
Yeah.
you're on the path, the infinite path of
Well, it's
truth.
a great point because the best things in my life, I can only speak on my life, but the best things in my life is when I did little to no thinking about it. Just
Yeah.
see how it shakes out, and then it always shook out. And if it did,
Yes.
but even if it didn't look like the end result when I was thinking the end result, it looked a little bit different, but it was always interesting.
Yeah, exactly. You make the
Yeah.
decision and then you jump.
Yeah.
It's the hee-hawing, right? Yes, no,
Yeah.
maybe, I don't, yeah, or I made the decision, I shouldn't have done it. But we're always like fate and free will. It's so interesting. And they had this kind of little hint to it in the Matrix, but you were never not going to do everything that you already did. You might have discovered along the way to do something differently next time.
Mm.
But I mean,
Mm.
I have an ex-boyfriend that I went back to back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I would just
Mhm.
like try my best to, I was
Mm.
never not going to do, I did my best.
Mm.
And then I could reminisce afterwards and be like, "Man, why didn't you leave sooner?" I couldn't
Yeah.
because if I
Yeah.
would have, I would have.
Right. Yeah.
If I
Makes
was
sense.
going to do it different, I would have done it different. So
Right.
we spend a lot of time there.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely understand.
Yeah.
And I always say this. Let me know if you agree with this or not. I've always said this for years now. Every decision I make, you make, everyone else makes is always the right decision.
That's exactly what I'm pointing to. It's exactly what it's not that free will doesn't exist. It's that fate and free will equal one another.
Mhm.
It's not that you don't go through the process of your
Mm.
decision. It's that you were still never going to make a different decision. You were going to
Mm.
make that one. Otherwise,
Mm.
if you were going to do a different one, wouldn't you have? Look,
Yes.
go look. You would have.
So it's interesting. So we're not. People think they're striving for freedom, but they already have it. It's hard to strive for something you already have. Now,
It's just
do you recognize it and use it? That's a different
there it
story.
is. Yeah. Are you consciously aligned?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Or is your
Mm.
freedom hidden from your view? And are you
Mm.
in essentially an illusion?
What is one of the, I guess, for the lack of a better word, one of the more intense cases that you've worked with
Hmm. I mean,
that even
so
you
part of
yourself
the,
were you ever like, I don't know if I can take this person on.
oh
This
yeah,
is a lot. Yeah.
definitely. A lot of that. Part of the process is that I utilize the external physicality because so there's a clearly an internal shift in frequency, right? We're raising that, but we're working with the mind and its programs. So there's guards at the gate of these programs. So whenever we attempt to shift and become something new, the mind will look at it and go, "No, you're not. You're not new." So,
Mm.
but if I adjust the physicality, which is the external, to match that frequency, then the brain starts to, while you're doing these transformations within, it also is viewing you out here. And by the way, nobody's ever had a bad makeover. It's always been extremely incredible because it's not a makeover like Maury Povich. It's your frequency is styling itself. And I just have the ability to look. I can see it. I don't do it. I'm watching you. So, anyway, when that physicality becomes different, the brain looks and sees that you are actually different. And it goes, oh, you
Mm.
are different. You may pass into this
Mm.
next frequency. So
Mm.
that's why the process is so extensive. So here's why I do the physical part. When you're so attached, unbeknownst to you, to ways of being, you're also very attached to the way you see yourself. So when that starts getting messed with, all of that stuff is
Mm.
like the fear comes right out to the surface, even if it absolutely looks better. You don't, it's all your brain is seeing is that it's different and there's something wrong. Wrong, wrong. This isn't me. Wrong, wrong,
Yeah.
wrong. And it has to, you have to go through that, some more than others, a fight, a battle. And I've had absolute meltdowns.
Mm.
But over time, I've grown to be really still, not try to solve the meltdown because you
Yeah.
just have to feel safe inside of that feeling and that experience. And so I can be very still for people while they're having that experience, not make
Mm.
light of it, not make a joke, not try to make you feel better, just be still with you while you're having that experience. So it's definitely it can take a lot because those experiences for people can be very intense, some more
Yeah.
than others.
Yeah. Yeah. You're there to be of support
Mhm.
and to help transition.
And to remind you
Yeah. And to
who you
remind
are.
you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Why do you think, through your work, why do you think so many people may feel so lost or powerless.
Believing Before Seeing, a new bestseller by Candice Bar. Order your copy today.
Because our external world is very alluring and has
Mm,
many decoys, and it's designed to make us forget
mm,
who we really are.
mm,
And so when we get really caught up in what I call the secondary world,
mm.
and we use that world to connect to our identity, and that world is transitory. It's always moving, shifting, changing. It's not solid. It's not designed to be.
Yeah.
And nothing is yours. It's always going to be borrowed.
Mm.
It would be inevitable that I would feel deeply insecure because I'm not anchored to the truth of who I really am.
Excellent. Perfect answer.
Mm,
Perfect answer. Let's switch over to singing, entertaining, that
yeah.
whole shows, all of that. What are people, when people who come to your shows or listen to your music, what do you hope they receive from listening to your voice, to your words, receiving that energy?
Mm. Um, have you ever had those experiences where it's sort of chilling because it moves past the surface? There's like the tapping your foot, like, oh, that's a cool song. And then there's that like feeling it, it hits your soul. It's like a
Yeah,
soul slapping feeling.
yeah.
That is its own intelligence, right? So that gets to have its way with you. Once it pierces through the surface of you and
Mm,
it slaps the soul, now it moves inside of you however it wants to move inside of you. And that's so I would say if there was a goal, it would be to get past the foot tapping you and
mhm,
into the soul aspect of you to have its way with you.
mm. Excellent answers.
Mm.
And do you have something coming up that people should be on the lookout for?
Well, I have something brewing. I'm
Okay.
in bigger conversations. I always have something brewing. But I haven't put a date on it yet because I live in the Scottsdale area, and the people that I'm in conversation with, there's a there's an opening here for to be a hub for something deeply artistic that has not
Mhm,
been seen or known, that
mm,
people have to come here for, because there's a
mhm.
missing component to the arts in this area, but there's an opening.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who adore and appreciate the arts, and we just kind of missed the boat on that. So to create something very unique that people have to
Mm.
come here to, because people were like, they, in this conversation, are like, well, we could, create this tour and do these things, and I'm like, I'm not getting on a tour bus. And I don't judge that. I'm just saying I'm not, I have
Well,
too
let's
many
do it
things.
here. Let's start
Why not?
something here.
Yes, because you can feel that there's a need for it and I'm here for it. And it's not really about me. It can also be then passed once this thing is created. So we're looking at bigger production teams,
Mm.
imagine like some real bells and whistles, all
Yeah.
designed to slap you in your soul
Yes.
outside of the foot tapping. I'll tell you that's the conversation I'm in. And might I do something before that? Probably there's that. And then there's also something to be said about the stripped down versions
Mm,
of everything, like
mm.
bring it to its simplest form.
I love that. And also to add to that, Arizona does have a very specific energy here. And it's I, what I take from it, I think it's a very healing energy here. It's a different vibration. Like Sedona has a lot of vortexes, but I think all of Arizona, in my opinion, as someone who's traveled throughout her life, has a very specific energy here. And I think it's really cool that you're here in that energy, doing what you're doing and giving that out through you.
In this pinnacle of time. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for that. I'm in agreement with that. I
Yeah.
feel like when we're in that flow, the flow finds you and you seem to be exactly where you need to be.
Yes. It's kind of like, I've talked about it before on different shows, but it's kind of like winning the lottery. And I have it in my book, actually. And it's like people usually wish for the numbers, But if you're the person meant to win that at that particular time, I believe the numbers will transition itself to you.
Oh, that's really well put. That's fantastic. I agree. I'm in agreement to that. There's the world of where when you open up the gates of the magic and the miracles, because again, Dr. Wayne, 0 to 9 months, like
Yes,
then we just, that's the real goal. Get me back to what that was before somebody got a hold of me and let that just have its way with me. And we have to
yes,
surrender to that.
yes.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go back to you for a second with all that, with the, personal transitioning and shifting and all that stuff as we're doing all the time.
Yeah.
Um, were you raised with kind of that thought process, or did you, find that yourself? And when you were ready to start helping people with their changes and transitions, did you feel confident in doing so
Mm,
as an entrepreneur?
that's a good question. Was I raised, and do you mean like, was it passed down from my parents, a sort of depth of, I would say, and my parents and I are so close today. No, and they no, but there was also, to your point of the lottery and everything, it's still everything I needed to experience to
Yeah.
discover. So there
Mhm.
is zero hard feeling there and nothing remains but gratitude for
Yeah.
exactly how it was designed. But I
Yeah.
can tell you that when I contemplate and kind of look into me when I was young,
Mm.
I definitely had this experience of myself like there was something that was not, it didn't seem like it matched
Mm.
my uh environment around. I always and I would create these little worlds by myself a lot. I was a bit of a loner middle child too.
Mm.
So there's all
Mm.
of that. A rebel for sure.
Mm.
Sorry to all my ex teachers and stuff like that. It served me later when it harmonized because there was something in me that was not designed to conform.
Yeah.
And it tried to get me in every possible way conformity. Be like
Yeah.
this, do it like this. And every time somebody would do that, there was something in my soul that would,
Yeah.
no, I want to do it like this. And I still am like that very much today. I don't like people telling me, you got to do it like this.
Yeah.
Because once we're in our most authentic space, nobody needs to tell you shit. You can feel it.
Completely.
You might resonate then with what somebody's telling me because that's aligned with me, but it's not
Mhm.
because you're telling me what to do.
Right. Right.
And that's so, because of that thing, there was a confidence inevitably because it got so anchored in me.
Mm.
And I know that that's not distinctive to me. I know that's everybody.
Mm.
It's just a matter of discovering where that path is for you to discover that space inside of you. And I promise you, you're not going to fit in when you discover it. You're not supposed to. We're all
Mhm.
such unique snowflakes, like literally like that. So the idea of comparison becomes humorous.
Yeah.
Nobody could possibly come in the vicinity of who you are once you get in touch with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What could you give people? A lot of people seem to live in a lot of fear, whatever that fear looks like for them.
Mm.
What words of advice could you give people to help kind of move them out of the fear space into the fun love space?
Yeah. Well, that's a journey, as we know, right? Because it takes a long time to build up these belief structures that they're no longer thoughts. We're now living inside of the world of these illusory beliefs that we pick up when we're children, which therefore is born in our innocence. So it's not your fault. And wherever we are, whatever pinnacle of time, is exactly where you're meant to be and how you're meant to think to discover what it is you're going to discover. But I was in, it's interesting that you asked that because I was in this contemplation um, just this week of like, if you had to boil it down to its simplest form, Albert Einstein said that if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it. And if you had to boil it down to its simplest form, I was going down this path and I was like, I think there's this area where I hold this grudge about this person. It was actually my ex. I had to drive by his old house and it brought back all his memories. And I'm like, wow, I feel like there might still be a grudge there. Cause there was a part of me that wanted to be like, F you, dude. And I caught it. I witnessed it. I was like, wow, that's so interesting. And then I started going down the path. It's like, I don't know if I have forgiven that person. And then I go, wait a minute. He's always been just that person. I'm the one that stayed.
He's been consistent.
He's been
Being
consistent.
consistent. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the one that stayed. So then I said, I don't know if I've forgiven myself. And then I kept on that beat, right? This is where all our fear really comes from. That's why I'm elaborating here. And then I was like, what? I'm consciously aware that I did my best. I really did. I gave it everything that I had. So maybe I haven't forgiven God.
Ooh.
And I don't mean that in a religious context. And but if you do, that's fine. I'm just saying there's the all being.
Yes.
I don't think I've forgiven that. And then the question becomes, in its simplest form, show me how to trust you.
Ooh.
And there is your path. There's the beginning of your path, because the prayer, the call, the intention is always going to be answered, because that's the truest call of your heart. Show me then.
It's powerful too. Show me the path. Show me the direction.
Yeah.
And I trust it to walk down it.
Yes. And if you think about that, then I took all of my energy off of the decoys of it all. Right? Show me how to forgive my boyfriend. Show me how. It was really like, I find the thread, and that's always it for people. That's where fear comes from. Because if everything is one great big miracle, then there's nothing out of place. So it's the issue I have is with the creator of it all, then, not with anybody else. So then show me that now I really got my eye on the ball here to something that's of true value. Because if it's just my boyfriend, then there's other things. It's him. It's like, he's not the thing.
Yeah.
This is the thing. And now I got my eye on the ball. Now show me here. Oh, there's something in me that I'm pointing to the North Star now. And now I'm down for this. Now go anywhere, go to a retreat, go to things, take yourself out of your known environment with that intention. Show me how to trust you. Now we're talking. Now I'm already kind of starting to be relieved from whatever that anxiousness is that I'm all like trying to control how I think it should go, how I think it should look, how I think it should be. All of that's rooted because I don't trust the creator of it all.
Yeah. That's powerful. And even being open to, I find so often people are in a victim mode.
Yes.
Or it's not me, it's everyone else, everything else that happened to me, everyone else around me. It can't be me.
The common
so
denominator.
How do you, what was it?
The common denominator. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it can't be me.
Well, even that's born in our innocence. We just, it can be very difficult to take on that I'm the common denominator if I don't know how to look at that without shame. I will defend it with my life if I have to wear the shame and be reminded of this deep-rooted belief that I'm not enough. I'll fight that. That's where all defense comes from. I'm defending this deep-rooted belief that I'm not enough. So that's born in my innocence, though. Right? So it's discovered when it's discovered in your divine timing. But even a conversation like this can have us be aware that that's the most important thing to look at and get that it's not your fault.
Yeah.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
And you can change it.
By seeing it clearly.
Yeah.
But it automatically changes when the clarity exists within me. I don't have to plow through that. I can adjust because right now, the victim is simply that I don't have clarity.
Yeah.
If I had clarity, I wouldn't be talking like that. I just wouldn't. So once I understand that truth. And once again, people have to begin to see that there's nothing shameful about that. You were like 5 when
Yeah.
something happened and
You
you
have
bought
no
a belief.
control over anything at that
Yeah,
age.
no, 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 no.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
there's nothing shameful. In fact, everything in you just needs to kind of like grab the you and be like, oh my God, just
Mhm.
exactly where you are and everything about who you are is
Mhm.
just so perfect. And
Yeah.
you're lovable right here. You don't have to be lovable when you get to this place or this space. You're right here. Right here. There's no you that's more lovable than this you right here.
Mm.
Right.
Mm. Beautiful. I could talk to you all day long. I'm gonna have
I
to have
know.
you back on.
You have great questions.
Well, I'm gonna ask you what I ask everyone. There's 2 questions I ask everyone across the board since I've had the show, no matter what. And one question is, when you're not having such a great day, how do you transition or transform your mind into a positive mindset if it's a bit of a challenging day or things are going on? Is there a um, affirmation? Is there a scripture? Is there something that you keep kind of in the forefront of your mind to keep you on a positive path?
Yeah. Um, First, back to our clarity, I feel like it's about realizing that it was never going to be different than what it is. And the
Mm.
struggle, the suffering is always that I think it should be different than what it is. It's not really what it is. It's causing my
Mm.
bad day, quote unquote. It's that I think my bad day that I'm labeling bad day should look different than what it looks like. So
Mm.
first, when I remember to remember that, I remember to remember that if it was going to look different, it would have looked different.
Yeah.
There was nothing I could learn something from this that I'm going to cause something different later. But still, there's a surrender in me that happens from there. And then I do say this thing. I release this burden to the miracle in me and I go free.
Oof.
And that means that I don't even have to solve it.
Oof.
I release myself from the burden of the solving, because that's really, if you think about it, where all the stress, and this deepens my whole point about how do I trust you, right?
Yeah.
Because now it comes full circle. Like the you is how do I trust you? Like it's me.
Yeah.
It's the miracle that I am too. And I'm
Yeah.
releasing this burden to that aspect of me to work it out because
Mm.
it's always going to work out.
Always. It's always
Yes.
in your favor.
Yes. Yes.
I love that. Very excellent answer. Beautiful. And next question is, when you started the business and it started getting clients, started doing well, all those things. And this answer is completely different for everybody. What was something that you were able to get yourself or something you were able to do that you always wanted, and you kind of took a moment and you pat yourself in the back and just gave yourself some praise and said, I did a good job?
Oh, that's a really good question. I don't mean for this to sound too external but I think we're just designed to play with that in balance too. Don't attach, but still play. Um, my last name is Ferrari, so it's not a coincidence that I'm into cars. And
Yeah.
I finally got the car that the doors open like this, And I remember having that moment where I really manifested that whole thing in my life, and I just had this like, man, it was just this great feeling because it all it is then becomes symbolic,
Yeah.
the infinite abundance, right? It's not the car, but I registered with the symbolism.
Listen, I tell everyone, I'm like, you know, energy workers or people in that field, you don't have to be poor. In fact, you should be in huge abundances especially if you're teaching other people how to shift, change, and live and be in abundant. So, you know, things can be exactly how you want them to be. And if that car symbolized something amazing for you, you should absolutely have it. You should have
Yeah,
whatever the hell you want that
right.
you want to have it for no reason.
Right. Yes. Yes. And they can I guess again it can be the symbolism to who we are. It's
Yeah.
not that I need the car to be who I am, but
Yes.
there's many facets to me, and that one
Yes.
was breaking a threshold.
I like
Um
I
yeah.
like, I like beautiful, pretty things around me. I love to be surrounded by beautiful, pretty things. And whatever that looks like, it's what it is.
That's right, girl. And remember, like like we all at the core of us, because we're that unique snowflake design, we're all
Mm.
really rebels to how it should look or be. So if somebody kind of points to, oh, you're in the spiritual world and the spiritual world looks like this, you better believe I will throw so many curveballs at you
Right.
so that you can't box me into what you think that is.
Yes.
Okay. In
Yes.
every way, I will make sure to rewire whatever you think that is so you don't label me in a cage. Yeah.
Also, like, I love that. And also, I know too many, abundance coaches. And I'm not saying that's you, but I know a lot of abundance coaches. But they themselves do not live in abundance, number one, and do not understand the laws of money and financial abundance and giving and receiving. They don't, but yet they're teaching on it. And I find it so disingenuous.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with that. There's just something that's not clear yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, I will have you back on because I could talk to you all day if I wanted
Yeah,
to.
this is so fun.
How can people find you?
Sure. AngelaFerrari.com. There's the music site and all of the stuff. And then shiftprocess.com. That's
We'll, we'll put that below too.
great. Great. Yeah. Those two websites. Angela Ferrari official is my Instagram.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for taking the time being with us and doing the work that you're doing because it's so amazing and so awesome. And
Thank
I
you.
absolutely love it. Love you. Um, Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. And we will see you all again next week. Bye, everybody.